Hi, guys. Pastor Charlie here, and again with the Wednesday night online. And we've gone from stories we think we know to conversations with leaders. One of the things as a pastor that is a very important part of what I'm expected to do is to help the church cast vision. Make sure that we're on a track and we're doing the right things and we have a vision for what God wants of our church. You see, you don't want my vision. You don't want anybody else's vision but God's vision. And that's part of my job. And it's a little daunting at times. And so one of the things that I like to do is I visit with people. I talk to the leaders of the church. I talk to members of the church just to see where y'all are and what you want and what you think God is wanting to do with us here at First Methodist Pampa. And so today I want to share a verse with you. It's Proverbs 15:22. And it says this: plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. You see, Solomon, who wrote the book of Proverbs, is known as the wisest man to ever live. He asked God for wisdom, and so he wrote down these little couplets in the book of Proverbs. And he was intentional to put one in there about how we should be planning and visioning so that we can succeed in what God's called us to do. So today, beside me, I have the great advisor, Jack McCavit.
The great advisor couldn't come, so he got me.
Jack is a safety engineer by trade. And so he loves Pampa. You didn't grow up in Pampa, did you? No, he didn't grow up in Pampa, but his two boys did. His wife, Sherry, is the smart one in the family. And you don't argue with that, do you?
Not a bit.
Yeah, not especially not if she's watching. But he worked for Celanese, and then you got your own company now, correct?
Yep.
So he is semi-retired, but the role he plays here at the church, outside of just being a good friend and advisor for me, is he chairs our vision committee and our safe sanctuary team. And so we want him to hear, we want to hear a little bit about that from Jack. So Jack, why don't you just tell the church why you feel so passionate about vision and safe sanctuary?
Well, the safe sanctuary is kind of I think a lot of times people might think of safe sanctuary and think about making sure we don't have guns in the church or something like that, but we're really talking about how we manage our relationship with our children, our youth, and adults that might need special care. So it's not about physical security as much as it is that kind of security. And we have a policy now in our church. And it's a good thing that we have a policy. We need to have a policy, but in fact, sometimes we don't follow that policy, and that's the worst thing we can do. We need to say what we're going to do and then do what we say. And right now, Charlie and Tad Smith and Beverly Alexander and I are a small committee that are trying to work on that policy and get it up to date, get it to where it needs to be. And then most importantly, figure out how to actually implement that and do what we say we're going to do. And from a vision committee, if you think about vision for a church, if you don't focus on vision a little bit, you just kind of drift. That's the analogy that's made sense to me. The church just drifts. We're gonna change in some fashion. So do we want to change with intention or just drift? And that's the really important one, in my opinion, is that we, as we change for whatever purpose, we don't have any hidden agendas on this change business, but if there's going to be change, we want to do it with purpose and intentionally, rather than just afloat in the sea of activities that we might take on.
Okay. So just out of your opinion, you mentioned the word drift and intentional. in regards to change. You're going to change one way or the other. It's either you plan it or you just kind of let it go. Which do you think we've done here at First Methodist Church Pampa?
We've probably done some of both.
Okay.
A few years ago, we started working with the 5 practices that a Methodist bishop published a book on, and that really helped us establish a little more intentionality in our vision or in our activities. But to be honest, we've in many areas we've probably drifted more than we've have. And I'm not trying to be harsh on anybody. It's just it's difficult to in a church, I think, unless you really sit down and work at it, to not drift.
Right.
You got new people come in, and there's not a course that's been set, so drift is probably going to happen. So I think we've probably done some of both. The good news is we've done some of it intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's true, and I know it's true in every church I've ever been at.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of mixture of both, and you're right. It is hard to always plan everything. I mean, I know as a safety engineer, you like plans. We've talked about that. You want redundancy over redundancy over redundancy, and you know that's hard to do though.
That's right.
Especially when you're having to try to bring a whole bunch of people together.
Well, and you have a new pastor, you have new people, there's just a constant transition always. It's it's just how it's going to be. And as a process safety engineer,
process safety, I'm sorry.
It is important that you have a vision and safety, and plans that laid out so we're all pulling in the same direction. That's the real key. We have a vision. We know where we're going, and we're all doing it together. It's.
What would you say has been some of the most successful things that you have seen come from the Vision Committee?
I don't. At that time, we weren't calling it the Vision Committee, but Donna Brocky has done a tremendous job on the missions work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good example of having a vision and carrying it forward.
Amen.
And it's been extremely successful in terms of how we approach missions, where we spend our money, and what activities we take on. Mm-hmm. She's a blessing for the church.
Yeah. So, by the way, you'll be hearing from Donna Brocky sometime real soon, I promise. So you mentioned something that sometimes gets a little touchy in churches. You said a 5-letter word that you're not supposed to say in a church.
Change?
Money.
I thought you were going to say change isn't a 5-letter word.
No, according to my newsletter article, I think I said it was 6, but I'd have to C-H-A-N. Yeah. But you said money.
Yep.
We have a habit here at the church of making sure that we can do the things that we want to do through individual giving to a very particular place. You know, like to missions, like to the Hope Pantry, like to benevolence and those things. And so we have a tradition of doing that. Somebody comes and says, "Hey, we need to do this," and people will give to that. How do you think that would hamper vision as opposed to giving more directly to the budget?
How do I think it would hamper vision?
Yeah, if we don't have the money for the budget.
Yeah.
Of
So
the church.
the interesting thing is, our church has a incredibly strong history of if there's a need, if there's a defined need. We need a van for a youth missions trip. Mm-hmm. We'll get that money in a heartbeat. Where we're not very good, and it's been this way for the 40 years that I've been in this church, we don't do a very good job when it comes to giving money every day for our regular budget, so that and then that limits our vision a little bit, because we don't have staff that can do extra things, all sorts of things that are required to be able to increase our ministries, and we kind of think that we're given all that we can for that budget. Yet, when we have a special need, the money appears. So that's a problem that I don't know, probably our preacher will have to solve that problem, I think. But it is a problem for our church, because every entity is limited by the funds that you have. And so we are in a mindset that as long as we can meet our existing budget, then we're doing what we need to be doing, when in fact, there's a number of ministries that we could do that we aren't doing because we don't have the money in the budget. So that's an interesting problem.
Well, it is, and you know what I've always said, you know what an interesting problem, a good problem, and a bad problem all have in common?
What's that?
They're problems. And I wasn't really planning. I mean, I gave him a list of questions that I was going to ask.
Yeah, when you going to ask me?
I don't think I asked one of them yet. But it's just the idea of, do we find it maybe more difficult to cast that vision? Like, what would you say, from your personal opinion and the conversations you've had with people over the years about the vision of the church? What is an area, a ministry, you mentioned staff, any of those things do you think that might need to be maybe one of the first intentional changes that we need to make?
Well, that you probably ask 100 people and get 100 different answers, but you only ask one, so that one will give you an answer.
That's right.
We have an older congregation, and we'd like to have a younger congregation, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is to have intentional, using that word again, intentional activities to attract younger people. Well, that takes probably takes a human being, another staff member,
okay,
probably full time, to make those ministries happen. And right now that money's not in the budget. Now, if we said it was a project, maybe we could get the money. But we don't have, we're tight on our budget. We're always tight on our budget. So that's a really classic example of the kinds of things that we could do, can do. I won't say could do. We can do, but we're going to have to find the money to do that.
Right.
And I'm confident that we can do that if we set our mind to it.
Right. Okay. Now, going back to, let's go to your other role with the Safe Sanctuaries. I thought you did a great job of talking about what it is. Why do we need that Safe Sanctuary policy? I mean, you did a great job of talking about how it's there to help youth, children, and vulnerable adults. And really and truly, the one point that you did make that I'm going to ask you maybe to expand upon is the role that policy has in supporting and helping those that are working with our youth, children, and vulnerable adults.
Oh, yeah. Why? In today's society, lawsuits are pretty common, and it's if you have a youth worker and the youth worker is challenged by a youth, there can be all sorts of legal issues involved with that, and that youth worker is probably going to be perceived to be guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
I mean, that's just the nature of that sort of thing. And the policy that we have protects those youth workers and children.
If they follow the policy.
If they follow the policy, because you don't have, for example, you don't have a single adult with youth. You don't have a one-on-one situation or a one-on-many situation. You don't. There's a number of things like that, and so the probably the most important piece of that policy is protecting the youth. But you also are protecting the sponsors and the workers. Right. I used to have the high school Sunday school class come to my house for breakfast once a month, and nothing ever happened because of that. But I had most of that time I had no adult there other than me. Well, if some kid said, "Hey, Jack did something inappropriate," I'm stuck. And that so there's two sides to that. You're trying to protect both the children and the sponsors.
Right. I know in my years in youth ministry, I think Safe Sanctuary, I became aware of Safe Sanctuary around the start of my youth ministry days. So that's going to be 99, 2000. I didn't really have any training on it till about 2002 or 2003. And I remember going to this training in Dallas and sitting in a week listening to a lady talk about Safe Sanctuary and the importance of it and all. I mean, can you imagine a week training on Safe Sanctuary?
That'd be a lot of fun.
And then I drove home from Dallas back to Abilene thinking to myself, I think I'm fixing to get fired. Because there are so many different layers to that policy. And you know, when it was new and you didn't really, and then all of a sudden you start realizing all these different things. And so I guess one of the biggest complaints I've ever heard about a Safe Sanctuary policy is it hampers the ministry. It prevents ministry from happening. Is that true or false?
Oh, I don't know what you think the right answer is, but I know what I think the right answer is.
Want your answer.
No, it doesn't hamper it at all. You just have to do it right. But it doesn't hamper anything. It doesn't restrict you from having interesting activities and fun activities. Not at all. But they have to be done appropriately. Right. So that both the youth and the sponsors are protected. Right. That sounds kind of like a bad word, but
well, it's the reality that we live in today.
Yeah.
We really don't have much of an option on that. Just to kind of wrap it up, what would you want to tell the church? I've got two more questions for you. This one is, what do you want to tell the church that you think there's, I'm going to use a word you're going to laugh at because I'm using it, but that it would be the wisdom imparted on them by Jack McCavit about the vision and the safety of our ministries here at the church?
What wisdom do I have to impart?
Yes.
This shouldn't take long.
No, I didn't. I was kind of expecting a one-word answer.
Well, from us do the safety one first. That we are going to be updating that policy. It's not dramatically different. It's just clearing up items on it. It's really not.
Right.
It's hardly different at all.
Really clarifying.
It's
things.
clarifying things. We're not changing the rules, but what I think the congregation should expect is that we're gonna follow those rules. The worst thing you can do is have a policy and not follow it. So
Amen.
Because we know the right thing to do and we're not doing it, well, that's not okay. So that's I don't think the congregation will see much difference there at all.
Right.
From a vision standpoint, about a little over a year ago, we were pretty heavy into the vision activities and trying to figure out where this ship needed to go, and we were about to ask the congregation for input, and I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a pandemic that came along.
Something about that.
Yeah, so that
I understand the president says now we can be outside.
Yeah, so COVID really shut us down there. We've not had any meetings in a long time, and we need to get back together again and think about how we're going to go forward. And again, we're not talking about dramatic change there. It's just that we want to move forward with intentionality as opposed to just drifting.
Right. And then my final question for you, Jack. if you could name one ministry that we are not currently doing that you would love to be a part of and see this church do, what would it be?
Well, what we were talking about a little bit ago, having more things for young adults and help that part of our ministry.
Right, right. Well, folks, that's Jack McCavit, and that's his role here at the church with Vision Committee and Safe Sanctuary leader. Jack, I really thank you for coming by, and I want to pray with you real quick, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, Father God, as we close this conversation, I thank you for the leadership that Jack gives our church. I thank you for his role in helping us vision, and I thank you for his friendship, Father. His friendship that has been brought to me and has meant so much to my life in just the short time that I've been here. Father, I know Jack and I give each other a hard time, and I love the banter that we have, but he is a wise person that you have put in my life and in the life of this church to help us see your plan and to help us follow it through. I pray this in the name of your son, Jesus. Amen. Church, there's a couple other things I need to let you know of. As you are aware, Vacation Bible School is June 7 through 11. Get those kids signed up. We need some kids up here. We're going to have this whole thing just decorated out. We've got prizes. We're going to be doing crazy games. We're going to be learning a lot about the scriptures and about what Jesus has for you, and that you can have confidence in God. And God sees you, and he loves you, and he made you. And so we're looking forward to that week. I know I'm super excited. Also, that schedule will be at 5 p.m. We'll have a dinner downstairs. Our Weatherly Sunday School class has been kind enough to help us plan that dinner. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. To help us plan that, you need to get on Curry. Help us plan that dinner, and so there'll be a dinner. There'll be a meal every night: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, Friday's going to be a little bit different. Friday, we're going to meet in the afternoon, and we're going to grill hamburgers and hot dogs and have blow-up games and just kind of have a big party from 11 to 1. So you'll get more information on that. But still, we need you here. Bring your kids. You come. We'd love for everybody to be here. We've got places for people to volunteer. We're going to have T-shirts. I mean, it's going to be a big, huge thing. Also, not this Sunday, but this Sunday is Senior Sunday. So come here and watch the procession of the seniors and get to hear about them and celebrate them. It's also Pentecost Sunday, and it's also the last Sunday in the series, Go Eat Popcorn. So I see people come by and see our sign all the time. I hope if anybody asks you, you know to tell them that it's Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. And then on May 30th, there's going to be a fifth Sunday singing at the City Lake Park brought on by the Ministerial Alliance. It's going to meet, I think it's 5 to 7, but there'll be information Sunday morning, and we'll have some other things to let you know when that is. So, but just remember that, City Lake Park, 5 to 7 on Sunday, May 30th. So guys, June is right here.
Don't forget Senior Sunday breakfast.
Oh, and Senior Sunday breakfast and the world's famous This Ain't Your Mama's Pancakes made by Jack McCavit and his team. I haven't had one. I'm looking forward to it because I'm just telling you, they better live up to the standard.
A lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure on you for that one. So, guys, we enjoyed it. Jack, again, I enjoyed talking with you. I love talking to you all the time. I'm glad other people get to hear. If you have any questions about Vision or Safe Sanctuary, I'm sure Jack would love to sit down and talk with you, and I would too. So we look